Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. But for our radio audience tuning in at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad that you all could be with us. Also, those tuning in through our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast, we're glad you all could join us as well. Kevin Jonas Sr. is someone who's been able to make a name for himself, not only in business, but also in the entertainment industry. You all know him, of course, because of his songwriting credits, but also as an individual who's been an artist manager as well. One of the most recent ways that people have gotten to follow Kevin, though, is through his podcast called Legendary with Kevin Jonas Sr. We're going to talk to him not only about what it's been like for him to be able to spotlight individuals and share their own legendary moments, but also what it's been like for him to look at his own career and what he's been able to accomplish as well. Kevin, thank you so much for the time today. Really appreciate it.
I am so honored to be with you. Thank you so much.
Well, look, the honor is definitely all mine. I mean, you have had an extraordinary career that continues, I should say, including with the podcast Legendary with Kevin Jonas Sr. I want to kind of talk about this journey for you, though, Kevin. What has it been like for you to kind of reflect on the impact you've been able to have both in business as well as the music industry?
You know, I try to live a grateful life, and I am truly grateful. I started in music myself. I often tell the story of sitting as a kid in front of the TV with a notepad, and I kept many of those notepads, just taking notes. Every single person that the performers on these award shows would mention, I would take the names, the people that they thanked. I'd go to the record themselves and go through the liner notes and the credits and cross-reference. And not only was I a singer and a songwriter, but I was passionate about the names, the stories, the behind the scenes. And so as I had my own career and my kids were in my van, I continued that journey. And then when their career took off, developed amazing friendships, amazing stories, but also my passion for these elements and this element of the music business just grew more intense. And so in this season of my life where I'm still busy and I wear many hats, I still manage talent, I'm an entrepreneur, I have restaurants, etc., I still at my core just love music. And so to be able to interview Tony Orlando from my childhood and now a friend of mine and talk to him about Tie a Yellow Ribbon or Frank Sinatra mentoring him, to talk to David Pack from Ambrosia, who had some of the biggest hits of the 70s. He talks about taking his career in his own hands, talking to my sons who are young in their life but still had a legendary career. And not only do I interview them and they tell stories that are amazing and some that shock me, but also they turn the tables on me. But it's been amazing, therapeutic, biographical, and I'm convinced, given the stories, that regardless of what you're living through, I really do believe you'll either be inspired because you've looked up to some of these people, like C.C. Winans, the most decorated gospel singer we just interviewed, or even if you're not in music, you'll be inspired by their stories, their perseverance, their overcoming nature, the changes that they navigated. It really has been inspiring already.
Yeah, and Kevin, I'm so glad you mentioned that, especially taking us back, because that curiosity is something I think that has definitely served you well. But we live in a time where the industry that people have gotten to know you for, let's say the entertainment industry, has definitely changed so much. Was it easy for you to make those changes and adapting as the world that you were in changed?
You know, it's a great question. I spoke to David Pack, and he was talking about his producer, and this was in the mid-'70s, said, you know, no one in the U.S. can mix this record. It's progressive rock. You need the leaders in that, and probably the biggest of the best are over in Europe. And so he basically grabbed a stack of quarters and cold called Abbey Road, and Alan Parsons picked up the phone, who at the time, Dark Side of the Moon, was one of the most premier mixers in the world, ended up mixing his record, And that became the start of that legendary run of hit singles. He took his career in his own hands. Well, the outlet might change. Kids today don't even know what a payphone is. It's the Internet. It might be TikTok.
Yeah.
But regardless of the technology, taking your career in your own hands is a theme that I think people still need to hear. Don't leave it to your manager. Don't leave it to the record label. Pick yourself up. Get on TikTok. Get on Facebook. Whatever the new technology is. Early in the boys' career, it was MySpace. And we would open up every computer and respond to every comment that was left. And those fans that were there on MySpace followed them to Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and now TikTok and Instagram. But take it in your own hands, whether it's a stack of quarters or TikTok.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't leave it to somebody else. And so the lessons are the same. The drive is the same. It's just the method might change. But, we do have different vehicles, but at the heart of it, if you believe in your music or you believe in your product, you have to get it in front of people. So I do think there are a lot of lessons to learn, even from guys that have been doing it for 5 decades.
Love that. Kevin, I want to ask you this question. A lot of times, as we're thinking about success, and you definitely have found success, as I mentioned, in business, even outside the entertainment industry, there's so many people that have become notable, as what you're doing with your podcast with Legendary, who are known just by their first name. Your family has become known by your last name. Jonas has become known. When people say Jonas, they automatically know your family. Could you have imagined that when this journey started, though, that your name would be someone that would be so synonymous with music and entertainment?
I had no idea. It's not a well-known last name. The Jonases came to the U.S., our line of the Jonas family, in the early 1700s. Our line settled in North Carolina, and I grew up in a town that had 24 cotton mills. People worked hard, but it was mostly poverty. And so I had no idea it would go where it did. I was on a plane once, and there was a man beside me, and I'm not a guy that talks a lot on planes. I really kind of concentrate and shut myself off and try to get caught up in work. And he turned around right away and said, "So what do you do?" I said, "Well, I manage talent." And I thought it'd be over. And he said, "What kind of talent? Like bands?" I said, "Well, yeah, bands." He said, "What kind of bands?" Because, the last band I knew did polka. I said, "Well, not polka, but popular music." And he said, What, like popular music? What band? Because I probably wouldn't know them. And I said, "Well, I manage my sons, the Jonas Brothers." And he said, "Well, forget what I said." He said, "How's Kevin doing? He married a girl from New Jersey, right?" And then he asked about Joe, and he asked about Nick's diabetes. And I got off the plane, I called my wife, and I said, "Our life just changed." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "We just went from screaming teenagers to a 70-year-old man knew specific details about our life. This just became culture, like broad culture. And, of course, we're just a family living our dream. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
For me, the big moments, right now, they're all about my granddaughters. And I had 4 boys, and I was talking to Nick and interviewing him. It's like, Nick, he asked me, "What are your breathtaking moments?" I said, "Well, your daughter coming home from the hospital." Yeah, Stevie Wonder at the Grammys was great. Dropping the ball in Times Square. The many experiences we've had that are just out of control. But for me as a dad, it comes down to your baby that was born early and 100 days plus in NICU coming home and seeing the look on your face. That's what it's all about.
Wow, amazing. As we look forward then, Kevin, with Legendary, with Kevin Jonas Sr., what do you hope people, when they hear these stories, because for myself when I was prepping for this, I thought, wow, these are not only inspiring, but also they're encouraging, that even when things aren't right, because the people you've been interviewing, not everything has gone their way, right, but they've kept persevering. Is
Correct.
that theme of perseverance something that you kind of hope people take away from each and every episode?
Absolutely. The reason we called it Legendary is because we're going to be interviewing legends, but that also implies old or people that have achieved a certain success but live on that. I wanted it to be broader, so we made it legendary, because we might interview TikTok stars that had a huge breakout. Well, what do you do next? Did the next single work? Because if it didn't, you have to persevere. You know, we as a family had a slogan that we picked up from a guy named John Maxwell, and it was, if you can't beat them, outlast them.
Yeah.
And so that perseverance is important. And my kids have been shelved multiple times, dropped multiple times, and you'd be hard-pressed to say they gave up. They just keep rolling, because that one failure doesn't matter. In fact, it might actually prep the hit song. You know, there were people that were telling Nick, you know, you're not writing the songs that'll break through to the top of the pop charts. And so he started writing with all these people, and I'm so proud of him, because what song finally broke through? A song he wrote.
Yeah.
Called Jealous. That became his first big number one single. But like that perseverance of I'm gonna do what's necessary, but I'm gonna keep working my craft. I'm gonna keep writing my heart, and that theme of taking it in your own hands and persevering and not letting the haters be your destiny, but looking ahead to what's ahead of you, what's beyond the turmoil, and what's beyond the heartache. Because every artist goes through it. I manage developing talent. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, what are you going to do? Are you going to give up? Are you going to blame somebody? And I think those lessons are not only important for the music business, they are important in life. We've all gone through a lot over the last few years. I'm a cancer survivor. You know, I could have taken that moment and given up. There were moments that were tough. It made me better. It made me stronger. And so whatever you're going through in life, I hope that you'll listen to Tony Orlando talking about his loss of a friend and his mental breakdown, but Frank Sinatra came along to help him. I hope that inspires you. Or I hope you'll be that Frank Sinatra to somebody else. So I really do have a hope that people will listen, and in whatever their career pursuits are or life pursuits are, use it to put priorities straight and be inspired that if Tony could do it, or David Pack from Ambrosia could do it, or Nick Jonas or Kevin Jonas could do it, and Frankie, that I can do it.
Again, everyone, Legendary with Kevin Jonas Sr. is the podcast. It's available wherever you guys listen on your favorite podcast platform. Kevin, thank you again for the time. Really appreciate it.
Honored to be with you. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope you guys will listen. Thanks so much.
More than welcome. And we thank you all for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Let's go make today amazing. Take care.